To me, in a way, it changed my interpretation of my own culture. And so the first question I had for you is, how was Ka received in Europe and India? And how
I can tell you, no, it was received very well in Europe, but not as well as my previous book, The Marriage of Cosmos and Harmony, which is more, I don't know if you know that.
Yes, I know that.
That
But I
is
haven't read
mainly
this
on
Greek myth,
mythology.
yeah.
And of course, for European readers, it's
More.
they know more. It's closer. It's less disconcerting. And with Indian, you get into a totally unknown world. But Ka was very well received. But the important point is how it was well received in India. I was various times in India, and even in public situations like the festival in Jaipur, or even in Patna, in Delhi.
You traveled.
I traveled, and I was asked to talk about the book. And always I had the feeling of a very, very lively reaction, and of readers who were more or less on your line, who wanted to understand more about where they come from, and who apparently had discovered certain things there. And it was funny, for instance, I remember, you are talking about the sort of irreverent aspect or scandalous or whatever. There was a journalist, a very good Indian journalist, who made an interview with me and told me a story. She said she comes from a very traditional Brahminic family, and her mother, and she was reading Ka. At a certain moment, her mother, who was a very devout Hindu, at a certain moment took the book and read a part of it, especially, I think, the chapter on the Ashwamedha.
Yeah.
And she was absolutely scandalized. That's impossible to get it. And the daughter said, take your time, go on, give a look around in the book, and then we'll talk again. And the mother was silent for a long time. Then one day comes to the daughter and says, it's all right.
Yes.
And that is a very
that's exactly
so an old lady who has grown up with these stories and this tradition, and who is shocked in the first moment, one then realizes that it's all there. I mean, it's not invented. So that is
exactly
kind of thing.
In my case, Shiva, it's the first time someone's pointing me in the direction that Shiva represents a sort of a masculinity, a universal masculinity.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, through myth, Calasso is showing us that Parvati represents femininity, and Shiva, and then it's a dance it's a constant, eternal dance of male and female.
Absolutely, and Shiva is a case which creates many problems because he's so extreme in everything.
Thank you.
So, and if you sort of cut out the extremes from Shiva, nothing remains. I mean, he must be that. He must be that. And that's what I tried to do. And so what happened is that after that book, I have worked, this is another book of Vedic stories, but more, the center here is more on ritual. And from ritual you get back to the stories, and from the stories to ritual.
Can you tell me what influenced
Ardor is tapas.
Tapas.
What influenced?
What influenced this going back to the? Unless this was written after Ka, right?
It was written after Ka, but as a sort of it followed Ka. It took many, many years, and in fact I wrote other books on totally different subjects. I'll give you one, for instance, but I was always thinking of these things. So it took it took almost 15 years,
Mhm.
I mean, the whole development.
Mhm. What's fascinating, Dr. Calasso, is a Western mind, right? Even for a Hindu mind, sometimes these rituals are very, very difficult to understand. Like,
Yeah,
what's
they
the
are.
connection with me? Like,
But
so,
you know, the
so
point
what,
is that mind is one, after all. So you can have a Western mind or Indian mind, but things are one.
Mhm.
And so you have to go to the same sort of object in the end. And my idea was that exactly on the point of mind, of consciousness particularly, the Vedic people had gone very far,
Mhm.
and we have much to learn.
Far
Far, very far
in the
in terms of
mental investigation.
of discoveries
Mhm.
and so that is one of the reasons why I wrote this book,
Mhm.
which is based exactly on that.
Mhm.
And so I don't think that after all, this fact of being born in a certain tradition is such a boundary,
Mhm.
because
There's no barriers, there's no fountain.
after all, we are made of the same stuff. And,
Do you see connection between Vedic thought, rituals, and Vedic myth and the Greek myth? Is there connection?
there are a lot. There are a lot, but I didn't want to talk about them because, you know, if you get into comparisons, I prefer well, to give you an example, the story of Helen and the story of Saranyu, the daughter of the story of the Ashvins and the story of the Dioscoroi have many points in common, but I prefer to deal with each of them separately and show in a sort
the
of
beauty in each
oblique way how they connect, but not making the usual anthropological connection. Because, you know, first of all, you cannot prove anything. You cannot prove that there is a direct relation. It's rather useless. And the point is to understand them in the right way. And if you understand them in the right way, you see that these stories converge in a way.
Fascinating. So one thing that I've always wanted to ask you, and again, the universe has put me in front of you, is Vedas seems to inspire you, the Vedic thought, but I don't want to categorize Western mind and Hindu mind, but having lived in the West most of my life, because I was in England and almost 20 years, I would say. So basically, I am a Westerner. The Buddhism seems to be, people hold Buddhism in awe almost.
I know.
In the West, and how about your interpretation of Buddhism?
You know, you remember in Ka, Buddha appears in the last part, and he's in a way the most modern part. I see him connected very closely with the Vedic world. I think everything Buddha says is a reply or a contradiction or a response to something Vedic. So you cannot put him apart, separate him from the Vedic. He's a reaction and on a very high level. And in the West, on the contrary, they take him as a sort of solitary being, not connected with the rest. And I think they miss the essence.
They forget that he was from a Brahminical tradition himself.
No, and absolutely, and so he belongs very much in the same picture. Of course, going in another direction, because in this world that we can call the Vedic world, there are very different directions. And one of them, the most modern one.
There was a German historian, I'm forgetting his name right now, he wrote Jesus Christ lived in India. I mean, the 40